And I've accidentally started the stream without the intro video, which is very, very smooth of me. Hello, everyone. How are we doing? Hopefully very, very well. I've not got that much time to do a stream today. And you might also hear very scraping noises through the wall, because next door is still doing some very, very loud construction. But I figured there was something a little bit interesting that I saw earlier on. Something to do with what Archie Gray said when he gave his statement after leaving the club. And I thought that was of interest. And I think there's all various bits of news and bits and bobs floating around at the moment that I think we would all benefit from having a little bit of a chat about, trying to sort of learn what's going on. And specifically, what's going on with the Gray family at Leeds United, because we all know that the Greys are a big part of Leeds United's history. They'll be part of our future. And ultimately, where are we going to land with them? And the specific thing that drew my attention here is Archie's message on Instagram upon leaving. Good afternoon, NJ1. And I don't know if he did the same thing on Twitter, but we'll have to find out. And I'm not going to call it X because that's not what it's called. I'm going to have to go on Instagram, aren't I? Absolutely, yeah. Hello, Dave. It has indeed been a long time, which is a little bit of a shame. But it's good that you're back. And it's a little bit annoying that I'm going to have to find this post. There we go. Cool. Which one is it? That's a message to Spurs fans. There we go. So let's present share screen and pull that up to talk a little bit about Sir Archibald McGray. Yeah, all right, Richard. You're doing the madness again, aren't you? Yep. So Archie's words upon departing were something that I thought would be fairly important. And I'm going to zoom in as far as I can, just to make them as legible as possible for you guys, even though that doesn't tend to work on Instagram for some reason, because it wants to keep the image at the exact same size. What he said was, I can't thank everyone at Leeds United enough for the past 11 years. I'm guessing that is meant to be all the coaches. Nice little typo, Archie. I've had, from when I first came here at 7 years old, to the coaching staff now. I've enjoyed every second of my time at the club and have so many great memories for life, from watching in the stands to playing on the pitch. I'd like to say a massive thank you to all the managers that I've had, but especially Daniel Farker, for trusting me this year and giving me the opportunity to play and teaching me so much about the game. I'm so grateful for him and all the coaching staff. This for me is positive because it says that clearly Farker had a big impact on Gray himself. Normally you'd expect a sort of general bit and bob, and if a manager themselves doesn't have a huge impact, then you're not going to hear about them. But specifically saying that to Farker says that, like, clearly he still has a lot of support amongst the players. Along the way, I've made friends for life, and I'm also grateful for every teammate I've been with from the age of 7 to the teammates last season. And for the fans, you're amazing. And this is where the slightly interesting bit comes in my opinion. And I can't thank you enough for the support you've given me, and hopefully Harry, in the next few years to come. We will cross paths again. Now, for me, this bit is one of the most insightful. Because a lot of people, the moment any of this news broke, responded by thinking, shit, what's going to happen now? I mean, Archie's gone. Does that mean that the entirety of the Greys are gone? Is Eddie still feeling okay? What's going to happen with all of that? And in my opinion, what we've effectively gained from this... one sec. Back at work now, mate, so live streams are just catch nothing personal. That's not a problem at all. Is we've learned that we're not, as a lot of people were trying to argue, certain to lose Harry Gray as a result of this. We're not losing what could be another £40 million player on a free purely because there's been a bit of an argument behind the scenes. That isn't going to happen. And I didn't think it was going to happen anyway, because Leeds is very clearly a very good place to have your development as a footballer. But this, in my opinion, confirms it and makes it a little bit safer, a little bit more comfy, and ensures to me that we're effectively going to be retaining Harry Gray, which is good, because I think he will not only break fully into the under-18s this season, like he has done before. If I remember right, the only reason we didn't see him in the FA Youth Cup was that he was literally too young to play in it. which, if you add things up, sort of tells you that this is a very, very, very talented player. This is a very good footballer that will be making his way into the first team, in my opinion, in very, very short order. And I'm looking forward to it. We also have a little bit more detail from one of our more reliable sources, The Athletic, who, whilst they do annoy from time to time, and whilst Phil, that bastard, has gone on to do a slightly different job, have done a little bit of a deep dive into Archie's move to Spurs, his exit from Leeds, and a manic 48 hours. So I'm going to give this a very quick skim through, a little bit more detail, and then we've got a little something on Junior Firpo, which I thought was interesting as well. On Saturday afternoon, they thought they pulled off the biggest transfer in the club's history. Everyone led a charm offensive to convince Archie to join from Leeds, and it looked like it worked. However, the good and very funny news is it did not. Didn't work. Gray only made his senior debut last year, and they were prepared to pay £40 million or €50.6 million, which is a little bit big. That's quite a lot of money for the 18-year-old, which would have eclipsed the €36.5 million fee they paid to sign Igor Thiago from Bruges in February. They signed someone in February. That's not when the window is, unless it closed on the 1st of February. I can't remember. Gray completed a medical at their training ground in West London. Looked like the beaten of competition, and it looked like he was going to sign for Brentford. That didn't happen after that. Bad morning still. It's not that bad. It's okay. I'm coming to terms with it. I think the most important thing here is that the relationship between the Gray family and Leeds is still strong as before. I think it is, because I don't think that line about Harry stays in if it isn't. I don't think they'd put that Harry line in if there was genuine fury and annoyance at the club here. So he completed a medical in London, looked like the beaten of competition, but by Sunday morning, he slipped out of the grasp and been swayed by Spurs. Joining them on a 6-year contract, so that will amortise over 5 because you're only allowed to amortise for 5 years, so Spurs will see that as £4 million per year. Bringing to an end a saga that had rumbled for weeks. Financial concerns said goodbye, but so did an academy graduate, which was a little bit of a pain. This is the inside story of a manic 48 hours. I'm going to skim through this and see what the most interesting bits are. We knew we'd have to sell 1 or 2 key players this summer. Cree is part of the discussion. Melier and Nonto, but accepted that Gray could command a substantial fee. Included a... That's very interesting. £35 million release clause, which was active while Leeds were in the second tier. We've sold him for 40. So to me, that says there might have been other bids that we've not heard of. From the moment the player finally landed in defeat, interest in Gray began to build. There were admirers across the Premier League and elsewhere, with Borussia Dortmund known to be a fan. That picture makes me so sad, man. Ouch. The problem for Leeds when it came to potentially selling Gray was as much as the surname was... That's just the Gray family bit. Holds an ambassadorial role and regularly attends. Although we were open to selling Somerville, the problem was that we didn't receive any offers that matched the valuation. This is what we've been talking about before now. This is what the conversation hovered around, because it was, we needed to make a sale and everyone was saying, well, why have we chucked Archie out of the door? The choice is we sell Archie or we don't sell, and if we don't sell, we get a points deduction. So sale is probably the way to go on that one. And there also weren't any offers that he was interested in, which sort of says that he might not have been fancying the Brentford move, which is very weird to me and says that perhaps there's some louder, bigger voices in that conversation. Leeds were under pressure to raise funds by the 30th of June to address PSR stuff. That's already been discussed. Lack of viable offers for Somerville ramped up the need to sell Gray. If Somerville had left, the pressure to sell might not have been so intense. The Grays camp have been assessing their options ever since the player final because they thought there was a strong chance Leeds would be required to sell him. However, he made it clear that his preference was to remain at Elland Road. He didn't ask to move on. That's also big. But I feel like there's a gap between the assumption that he was asking and demanding a move and the club forced him out. It feels somewhat amicable with there being a release clause in there. Then again, I fully acknowledge I've not been in the room for any of these discussions. None of us have. So it's hard to tell. By the end of this week, when it came to the crunch, the most realistic options were Brentford or Spurs. Have you read Archie's statement on Insta? I did a little bit earlier, and that's why I'm feeling a little bit positive on the Harry Gray front and the idea that there hasn't been a bit of an argument going on there. Spurs are looking at young talents that could make an instant impact but still have room for growth. Gray fits in that, as does Dragusin, who I think will play for Romania tonight, and Bergvall, who, if I remember right, is a Swedish winger. They've Langer's hard work to thank for getting the job done, blah, 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 blah. That's a little bit of Spurs-based glazing. Brentford missed out on him. What a shame. None of this is relevant to us for a minute or so. At this point, there were further conversations with Leeds, which included Chairman Parag Marathe, Gray's younger brother, Harry, is in the Leeds Academy, another link between the club and the family, and it was certainly not a case of the player trying to force a move to a club playing at a higher level. So there's those nice positive links between Archie and the club, which is nice and says that there might be that feeling for Harry. Though Gray left no doubt he was happy to remain at Leeds and the option was a possibility, there was frustration among those close to Gray about how the situation was handled and the pressure it created. The deal made business sense to Leeds under the circumstances. That feels like that is where the conversations around Eddie being annoyed built. That feels like that's where that came from. Just to clarify, Richard, this is more on the Harry thing. This is more on the, okay, Archie's gone. We've still got Harry Gray, who is a promising youngster. Let's see what happens with that, and let's see what hints we can pick up about that, which is what this little stream is to do. Midfielder woke up on Sunday morning needing to make a decision. After his conversation with Leeds, he told them to reject Brentford's offer. Okay. They were only able to do so because Gray didn't want to go to Brentford. So it wasn't about the structure. It was about what Archie preferred. No players bigger than Leeds. Yeah, I agree. This was ultimately a side before selfie move because it helped the club. But at the same time, Archie didn't want to have gone. It was a little bit of a sacrifice. But by mid-morning, he was on his way to talk with Spurs in person. Conversations between his camp and Spurs had gotten them to a place where both sides were happy with the terms being offered. Brentford were about to lose out. Bit of furore online, blah, blah, blah. People not being a fan of the fact he might have gone to Brentford. Some with longer memories, it might feel painfully familiar, like Aaron Lennon, and when we had to do a little bit of a fire sale. And let's hope it takes less than 15 years to go up this time. How do you mean, here are our plans? I'm a little bit confused. But then again, I'm naturally a little bit confused, which is just how I work. Oh, you're talking about Brentford? Yeah. Yeah, I can see why Brentford did what Brentford did, because Brentford were in a position where they have to push for young players because that's the only way they can get proper value. It feels a bit like they're stumbling around in the dark, though, I have to admit. Like, baffling club. Bizarre. Yes, we want to find value, but also we're going to pay 80 million, not 80, 40 million quid for a footballer. It's not quite as friendly as you might expect. Oh ho ho ho. Now. There's a little something I've just seen. What's happening with this, do we think? Mr. Sam Rodon, our favourite player-linked tweeter, is Connor Roberts on the way? Because that would be a solid signing. He'd cost, what, £3-4 million? Because that's the sort of value that was being bandied about before. Maybe it adds another million because Burnley are currently in our division, won't want to sell to a rival. Complicated. I feel like Connor Roberts might be on now, you know. Which I wouldn't have said a matter of days ago. Are we just turning into the Welsh national team? Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Who knows? Hoping that's a bit of copium in the chat comments because some of the viewpoints are appalling. Yeah, I mean, the takes on Gray was never that good and all that stuff are a bit. He's 18 and he was one of the best right backs in the division, and he's not a right back. So that tells you the sort of level that he is able to function at. One sec. Okay. Sorry, I had some messages about some work bits and bats, which is always fun. But yeah, I mean, anyone that says that Archie Gray wasn't that good either wasn't paying attention or is trying to cope with the fact that he's gone. But it's a move that adds up for absolutely everybody. My only issue with Roberts is that his tash makes him look like the Oswald Mosley actor for Peaky Blinders. Yeah, I wouldn't judge him on that. Admittedly, going for a look that comes from the British Union of Fascists isn't ideal. I'm guessing that's how he's portrayed in Peaky Blinders. All I know is that's what he is in reality. But yeah, not the actor, to be clear. Oswald Mosley. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. My general feeling is that it was the right move, and we need to move beyond it, and we need to make sure that we. This is stupid. Selling cash in on Harry Gray already when he's not had a chance to do anything is silly. Can we get Jordan James also buying Welsh players? Who the hell is Jordan James, and why do I not know that name? We've already got Dan James. Professional footballer who plays as a midfielder for Birmingham and the Welsh national team. Oh, he's being eyed up by Forest, Leicester. Shit. Fairly good then. Doesn't look like Dan James's brother, no, because he's more than 3 feet tall. No one said that players were bigger than the club. However, there is still the point that you can be incredibly stupid and spiteful when you're trying to sell players based on what their brother has done, which is literally just leave the club, which is a normal thing to do. That happens in football. It's annoying, but it's happened now, and there's nothing that we can really do about that, which is fine. It's all good. And there was one last little story that I wanted to take a cheeky, bricky little deep dive into. And that is, if I can find it, next door I've set off the smoke alarm again. I'm so happy with the amount of construction bullshit they're doing recently. It's fantastic. Love to see it. Bloody hell. Where is this little bit of news? Check the latest. No, I can't see it anywhere. But all you basically need to know is Junior Firpo has been called up by the Dominican Republic to play for them in the Olympics. If I remember correctly, the rules of Olympic football are that you have to have a squad that is under 23 players, except you are allowed 3 that are over the age of 23. In this case, they have decided that, in essence, Junior Firpo is one of the best players that the Dominican Republic has, and it makes sense for them to call him up. I'm going to search Dominican Republic Olympics football and see if it gives me what I'm asking for. Please. But in my opinion, this means that we've got a little bit of a discussion to have around Junior Firpo's role. Because if Junior Firpo has been allowed to head off to Paris, where the Olympics are happening, and Matteo Joseph hasn't, that tells me that Firpo is probably not in the conversation of key players at that team. He's not going to be key at Leeds United next season, which tells me that we might have a left back already lined up. Because I think if there's any big question mark over having Junior Firpo available at the very, very start of the season, you don't take that risk. You don't say, okay, Junior, you can go. We might not have a left back, but you can go. Because the extent of the left back we have as cover is maybe Pascal Struijk. Byram can play there. I guess Connor Roberts can play there in theory. Luca Nets, maybe, in theory, but we've not had any solid news about a left back that is coming in. But this is sort of indicative to me that there will be a left back on the way. We don't know who it is. We don't know when it is. There's been a little bit of conversation around, I think, as Sam's just mentioned, there was discussion over Ryan Sessegnon, because I think he's a free agent right now. And that wouldn't be the worst of signings, but I don't know. A favour for Archie Gray, Ryan Sessegnon went to Spurs with as big, if not a great reputation, and struggled to break into the squad, and with injuries. For his sake, hope he succeeds where Ryan failed. I think he'll be okay. And the reason that I do think that he'll be okay is it's a very different management structure there at the moment, because every manager is going to approach youth very differently. So Marcelo Bielsa was, I will have my core of 18 players and I will add to it with youth. Daniel Farke was, I've got my core of players, I'll put some youth players on the bench and they can break into that core. Examples, Archie Gray, Matteo Joseph towards the end of the season. The question around it is more, where does Ange Postecoglou fit on that scale? Because we know that from that Athletic article that I read a few minutes ago, that what Spurs like to do is they like to focus on signing young players and develop them, and it will all be great. But are they getting the minutes? Is my sort of question. I'm going to have a quick look at FB Rep actually and see what Spurs did in terms of minutes. I heard Marius Wolf's on a free, Byram left and Wolf on the right. I think Marius Wolf will find a bigger move, I'll be honest with you. He'll be linked to bigger and more top division sides than us. Especially since he's been fairly solid at Dortmund for a while. He'd be a good signing for us, absolutely. I wouldn't disagree with that. Just like you liking the stream would be a good sign for you. Haha. I swear to fuck. Please stop setting off your smoke alarm. But having a look at Spurs at the moment, they're not against giving young players minutes. 15-year-old Mikey Moore got 2 appearances. Jamie Donnelly, 18, got 3 appearances. Dane Scarlett got 4. Alejo Veliz, who is 19, got 8. Iago Santiago didn't, but he's not as good. Papi Matassar got 34 appearances. Udogi, 28. Those are both 20 years old. Dragusin got 9 appearances. Basically, Spurs are quite good at giving players minutes, especially young players, and it sort of makes sure that they are able to develop. Press the Steam Deck button, Joe. Which one? I've got many. Oh, that one. Has it worked? It has worked. There we go. But thank you for remembering I had a button. I've got many buttons. I've also got a run ad button, so if anyone's a dick in the chat, I'll just press that one. I hope we don't get Sessegnon. I can't see his name without hearing Sausage Onion. I mean, fair enough. Now, a Spurs Academy player from school, proper Arsenal, went for like 45k to Stevenage last year. I know someone who I went to school with that was a bit of a tit. And I don't know what he's doing now. He's currently playing in the Yorkshire Amateur League for Middleton Reserves. Let's see where his brother is. Because I know he played for Huddersfield. But I don't know where he is now. He's currently playing at Gainsborough Trinity. Wonderful. We love to see it. But yeah, if you haven't, pop a like on the stream. It's one click, easy enough. But on the Junior Firpo news, it does feel like there is very, very probably a left back on the way in. I would be surprised if that doesn't happen. Harvey White has one senior appearance for Spurs. Who is Harvey White? And why do I know the name? I don't know. I don't know at all. But we'll link with a lot of people. We always are, we always will be, because that's Leeds United and that's in a transfer window. But what I am going to do is I am going to pull up the what do you think? Let me know your thoughts and questions and comments and everything. Oh, that bloke. Right, okay. And yeah, let's have a little bit of a natter, a little bit of a talk, because I need to nip off relatively soon. But in the meantime, we might as well have a bit of a convo. Lucanets was linked last season, so he was, but I feel that could be a struggle for us to get across the line now. I'll give it a quick goggle and see what pops up. But I'm not super convinced that we would be first in line for him. News. No, the latest bits of news that popped up were on the 11th of March, and it didn't just link us to the move, it linked Scum to the move. So for me, that screams a little bit of agent chat, a little bit of we want to start a conversation about our player moving, and then he didn't, and that tells me that, I don't know. I think we'd need to be promoted anyway, because I don't think he is a championship player. I think he'll be eyeing something higher than that. But yeah, I think that would be a struggle for us to try and get across the line, basically. I think we'll get a left back in. I don't think it'll be Lucanets. I also think we'll get another centre back and probably a 10 and likely a winger and definitely a right back. Maybe Connor Roberts, based on what we saw earlier. But I should do a video on that, I think. Oof. I mean, that's a lot of V-Bucks. You can't blame him for the amount of V-Bucks he's going to be able to buy at this point. That man's getting all the skins on Fortnite. He's never going to have to go without, I don't know, who's in Fortnite now? Never going to have to go without a Vegeta skin. Who knows? But I think with that, I'm going to bring the stream to a close. It's only a quick one because I'm in the middle of a very, very, very busy work day. But I thought I'd hop in, have a little bit of a chat. Might have a video out later on. I've not completely decided yet. I think I want to have one out, but I'll work out what to do one on. Maybe on the defensive rebuild, maybe on the Firpo stuff, maybe on the Connor Roberts conversation. Either way, hope you enjoyed the stream. If you did, pop a like on it, subscribe. If you aren't yet, I'm going to try and get to 4,000 subs by the start of the season. That would be massively appreciated. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. Ta-ra.